Hey there! I know what you're probably thinking. Didn't I see this video before? No you haven't. You probably recognize this pattern of two cream guitars lying down on the floor, surrounded by weird East European carpet models and stuff, but my previous video that you're probably thinking about is the one where I talked about the two Yngwie Malmsteens that I have, and I made like a comparison and a review, gave you an honest opinion on how it is to own one, to play one, and so on and so forth. In this video, because you probably already know by now, I have also the Mexican Fenders that I just love. In this video I want to actually compare one against the other. So what we have is, in the blue corner we have the Mexican Player series, the newest Mexican made Stratocaster from Fender that replaced the standard series Stratocaster from back in the day. And in the red corner we have the Yngwie Malmsteen Stratocaster made in USA. Well, one of them at least. So yeah, I just wanted to walk you through some of the things, some of the differences, and without stressing too much on the differences, because obviously you have things like, different pickups with the standard Alnicos for the Player series, and with the Seymour Duncan YJM Fury models for the Malmsteen. Slightly different wiring configurations, stuff like this. 22 frets on the Mexican versus 21 frets on the Malmsteen. Obviously the Malmsteen is scallop. Obviously we have a different headstock, small on the Player, big on the Malmsteen, bullet truss rod on the Malmsteen, 2-point trim on the Player, 6-point trim on the Malmsteen model. Again, I want to stress this, the 6-point is actually the most amazing trim system ever, not because Yngwie says it necessarily, because this is my real and honest experience from not just playing but fixing and setting up and building tons of guitars over the years. If you know what you're doing and if you're paying enough attention to the details, the 6-point trim is the king. I don't care if it's a 2-point trim, if it's a locking, non-locking, the 6-point trim is the king. However, the 2-point trim is a lot easier to work with if you don't want to really spend too much time setting it up or worrying about some finer aspects of the mechanism. They're a bit more, let's say, beginner or user friendly. That kind of covers the differences. You can read a lot more on the internet. You can find tons of resources out there, whether it's the Fender official website or YouTube, whatever, for specs. Now what I want to focus on more is I want to tell you how it is playing each of them and how it compares, and what are my thoughts about each of them and what you should buy and why. So, right off the bat again, for the billionth time, you will not go wrong with a Fender guitar unless you're a moron and you don't care about anything, and you don't take the proper time to research what you would really like, and you end up ordering a guitar online without paying attention to the specs, and then you're like, it has a V taper, I don't want that, or it has pickups with this characteristic and I don't really like it, or whatever. So go into a guitar store, and if you like what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're touching, what you're humping, whatever, just buy it. It can be a guitar or the guy behind it. desk, whatever. Yeah, so you cannot go wrong with a Fender guitar. That being said, there are many things that come into play when it comes to these two guitars. Obviously, we're talking about a made in USA signature model versus a made in Mexico model. Now, prejudice will automatically lead you to believe that the made in Mexico version is quite good but not so great sounding or playing. The made in USA is very good sounding, very nice playing, but it's way too expensive. Let me detail on that because it's not really the case. So again, in terms of sound and feel and problems, there are none. Both of them are impeccable. Obviously, the sound will differ because you have the standard Alnico 5 on the Player series versus Malmsteen's proprietary Seymour Duncan noise canceling stack technology, so they will differ quite a bit in sound, in terms of sound. But apart from this and apart from the obvious difference when it comes to the feel of the fretboard, one being scalloped, the other not being scalloped, there's really not too much of a difference, which is both good and bad. So obviously the good part is that Fender never compromises quality when it comes to lower price points. So they didn't give you just something with a Fender logo stamped on the headstock for the Made in Mexico series that is like a, I don't know, crappy guitar that just looks and plays okay, and then they put all their effort and resources into the Made in USA models. Nothing like that. The Made in Mexico is just as good in terms of QC, if not even better. If you watch my previous video talking about the Malmsteens, the two Malmsteens that I have, they're just very well made. Now, in terms of price point, honestly, and people who are probably contemplating on buying one of these, like either a Mexican Strat or a USA Strat or a USA Signature Strat, you might want to pay attention to this, because honestly, although they're both amazing guitars, would I necessarily recommend going for a signature or a Made in USA model? Short answer is no, unless you really feel that for you personally, the the Made in USA or the specs of your favorite guitarists are things that weigh enough into the whole equation so that it can justify and make things worth it. Again, there's no right or wrong with this. There's no exact price that you can put on the fact that you have your Guitar Heroes guitar in your hands with his specs, with everything, with his name on it. There's no price you can put on it. Obviously Fender did, and in my opinion they went for the high point, but for some of you, such a guitar might be priceless. You might be willing to spend no matter how much. For some of you, you might not even give it the time of the day, unless you can get it for like a bargain. It all depends, but again, in my personal opinion, my own view on this is that if I were to choose, I would say that it's not entirely justified. I wouldn't use worth it, because again, it's up to you if it's worth it or not. For me, it was worth it because, again, I bought it, and I'm now talking about the Malmsteen. The Malmsteen, I bought it second hand, and that's point number one. Point number two is I actually didn't buy it. I actually traded it with some of my other guitars. I gave like 2 or 3 guitars, lower price point guitars for the Malmsteen. So for me, in such a situation, it is entirely worth it because I no longer felt like I wanted to keep those guitars with me, so it made sense to give them away and have the Malmsteen that I always wanted to have when I was younger and when I couldn't afford it, and also now I wouldn't really be able to afford it paying it in cash. But even if I were able to afford it, I still wouldn't go for it. Whereas for the other one, for the Mexican one, and this is valid for both the Player series that you see right now in front of me and the other standard series that I have and I covered in other videos where I talked about it individually, then I compared it with this one with the new Player series. Both of these made in Mexico guitars, I found them more than justified for the price point and quality they offer. They're just a tremendous bang for the buck. Like, if you get these, not only do you not go wrong with the guitar because it's a Fender guitar with extremely high quality in terms of build, but the price point, in my opinion, is so well adjusted. Like, it's just amazing. Whereas for the other one, it's not the case, again, in my opinion. Like, maybe you can choose something somewhere in between and you can go for a made in USA model that is not a signature, and you're kind of somewhere in between the price point of a made in Mexico and a signature or a custom shop. Maybe that's something you can think about. Again, even with that, I would say, depending on the guitar, I wouldn't necessarily pay the price just because it's a made in USA model, because again, they just did a tremendous job with the Mexican series, so there would really be no point in paying for the made in USA stamp on the back only. But for example, with the US, with the made in US versions, you have quite a bigger array of choices and some really nice features and finishes and options. So if you would ask me, I would say, if you have the money and you're really into your favorite guitar player, go ahead, get one of these. It might be the Malmsteen, it might be whatever, Clapton, Jeff Beck, Sambora, doesn't matter. Even modern ones like Jim Root or John 5 or regardless, the Hendrix. So go ahead and do it. If you're not entirely convinced that it's worth it, you're probably right, and I would advise the following. If you're just looking for a super solid guitar with not too many bells and whistles, you just want something that plays amazing, sounds amazing, and it's, just classically, defaulted to the normal specs, go for a Mexican. You will not regret it. If, however, you want to get some really nice sunbursts, like the Sienna variant of the sunburst, you want to get like, I don't know, maybe a roller nut or some cool options in the woods, or some active circuits with some Clapton type boost circuits inside, or any other quirk that you feel you really desire. And obviously you will not find it on the Made in Mexico series, because these are just plain standard nice guitars with just classic default configurations. Go for the Made in USA version. Again, I don't think you will regret it. Anything above that, again, if you feel like it's justified, go for your signatures, go for your custom shop if you really want a custom shop, or even if you are wealthy and crazy enough, go for a master build. Obviously, I would want a master build, not because I'm someone that deserves a master build. It's just that I would love to have my complete Fender guitar built according to my specs by some of the very best in the whole wide world, which is the Fender master builders. I kind of do all of that without the prestige of having those guitars done at Fender. So if you've watched my channel for a while, you know I'm building all of my quacky guitars according to my weird tastes, which satisfies the need of having my own personal touch on every aspect and step of the build, without obviously having the nice Fender logo and work behind it, and just the overall feeling and knowledge that it was done in the Corona, California factory by the guys you would enjoy having them work on your guitar. Having that said, I just wanted to make this comparison with the thought behind that this should probably serve more as a decisive factor or like a buyer's guide if you're contemplating on which avenue to take in such a case. So the video is getting pretty long. Sorry for this. I just hope it was worth it for you, and please feel free and check the description. I'll be leaving the links for previous reviews and comparisons with these guitars, and also the other Malmsteen and the other made in Mexico guitars done individually and whatnot. Again, ask me anything you want in the comment section. I'll always reply. I'll try to help as much as possible, and if I think the reply would be too much of a hassle, I will just make a video just for you. And yeah, I'll be covering that in a separate video. So once again, thank you, and don't forget to like, dislike, share, subscribe, unsubscribe, hate, comment, whatever. Till next time, see ya.